Okay, if you're on the market for a compact SUV that's fun to drive, looks very sharp like this one, practical, then this, the Alfa Romeo Junior, is probably one for you to check out. Let's talk about it. Right, let's walk around the car and talk about the design, starting with the front. So on the front, it looks very bold, very athletic as well. I love the front splitter, the way it kind of just sticks out. It looks very good. You can see some of the smarts all around the car as well. For example, you can see one of the radars over there, the cameras there as well. And then you get this big Alfa Romeo Scudetto, so the shield up front here with a snake eating a man or a child. Who knows? And then we have two sort of vents here, but only one of them is actually active because you can put your hands through this one, but not that one. I'm not sure why they've done that, but if you know why that is, drop a comments below. And then we've got the Alfa Romeo badge here in the black and white, which looks really good, well, black and silver. And then we've got the scoop on the bonnet as well. So that line just leads onto that Scudetto, the shield on the front. And I love what they've done with the LED lights and the day running lights as well. I feel it looks very sharp, nice and slim. It looks very modern, but at the same time, it looks very bold and smart at the same time. The LED lights are very, very bright. It's the iconic 3 setup there as well. So I think they've done really, really well when it comes to the front. And it's got a nice ground clearance to it as well. So yeah, looks really good. What do you think? Then we move over to the side of the car. It looks very sharp and athletic. Again, you can see some of the creases all around it. We've got 18-inch alloys on this, but if you go for the much faster Veloce, that will give you 20-inch alloys, so that's something to bear in mind. There are 3 different trim levels. So you have the Speciale, which you have here. We have the base model, which is the Electrica, and then there's the Veloce, which is much faster, but we'll talk about that when we talk about the powertrain in the car. But the alloys look really good as well. I love the clover design and the finishing on it. Again, the black cladding all around it just nicely contrasts this color that we've got here. Speciale badge on the side there as well, just to let you know that this is the trim level that you've opted for. And then we move further down to the back. You can see that line just leading to the front and wrapping around the back, and it just gives it that compact look again on the back. It's borderline looking like a hatchback, but it's definitely not. This is a fully compact SUV, but I love the contrasting color with the black and the red, the detailing all around it. I think it looks really good. And then as we go to the back of the car here, you notice that the door handle for the back is actually situated here, and it sits flush with the rest of the car. And that probably helps with the drag coefficient and also how aerodynamic this is going to be. But it's pretty cool. I like what they've done there. Some people might not even notice it, but there's also this Alfa Romeo logo still here as well. So the snake is here, which again, I think is cool. It's it's subtle. So if you notice it, you notice it. If you don't, you don't. It's actually, and it's even hard to get on camera as well. I was trying to focus on it earlier, but I couldn't really get it to focus properly because it's so subtle. And then at the back of the car, which I think design-wise is probably not my favorite part of the car. I prefer the front more than I do the back. But that aside, that's just a personal opinion. You've got the wiper there. We've got a nice spoiler there situated on the back as well. And it just slopes downwards to the back. And we've got this lip on the boot lid as well. Alfa Romeo logo just written out with the lettering, which looks good as well. I love that font. It's one of my favorite fonts. I try to write like that sometimes as well, but I could never get it right. And then you've got this black finishing on this lower part here as well. And then we have electronically controlled tailgate here. So if you open it, that reveals the 400 litre of boot space that we've got in here. And what I love about this is you can also raise this part up as well, so you can get to that bottom half and store your charging cable if you like. And this sits flush with the rest of the boot, but you can also move this and layer it, drop it lower if you prefer to do that, so you get a bit more space. And obviously you can still drop the seats as well to get even more space if you need to store more stuff in the boot. But it's got a big opening, it's nicely, it's not too low, it's not too high, so it's easy to load the boot whenever you need to do that. It's actually one of the best in this class in terms of the segment that this car is in terms of the boot space being 400 litres. So practicality, tick when it comes to the boot space. Over on the left side of the car is where you find your charging port. So you just push that to get into it. And this will support 100 kilowatts charging. So if you can find somewhere where you can charge, you'll be able to get from, I think, 10 to 80% in like half an hour. It's a shame that it's only 100 kilowatt though. I would prefer that to be a bit higher, but I think 100 kilowatts is still pretty good in the grand scheme of things. So it's not too bad to charge up that 53 or so kilowatt hour battery that's in there. Moving on to the back seat, we look at the materials in here. It looks really good, nice and plush in terms of the material used. There's mixtures of different material like plasticky bits in here, which I'm not a massive fan of having those plasticky bits, but when it comes to the segment that this is in when you're carrying kids and all that kind of stuff, this will be fine. They'll scuff it, it's easy to clean, and you're good to go again. But in terms of the space at the back though, there's limited space available for my knees because I'm 5'11", so you can see there's not much space there for my knees. There's plenty for my feet to be tucked in though, which is good. Headroom is good as well, so there's no issues there at all. There's no armrest here, unfortunately, which, unless I'm just being silly and I can't figure it out, but I couldn't spot any armrest here. There's a USB-C port here for the back passengers to charge their devices, and there's a transmission tunnel here. And the reason why that is because there's also going to be a petrol variant of this, I believe, but don't quote me on that. But that aside though, there's a transmission tunnel here, unfortunately. So which means whoever sat in the middle will have to raise their knees quite high up. So they might not be as comfortable as everyone else for longer journeys. But other than that, that's pretty much what you get here in the back seat. Over in the front, it's very cozy, to say the least, and also it's comfortable. The seats are nice. The material that's used, they're very comfortable. I love that they're electronically controlled as well, so you can easily move things around. It's got some branding all around the cabin as well. For example, the vents have the badge on there. There's another badge here. There's another one embossed on the headrest as well. Obviously one on the steering. So they're just dotted all around the car. In terms of the tech here as well, we've got a big display, 10.52-inch TFT display. It supports Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You got wireless charging here as well. Two USB ports, one USB-A, one USB-C. Lots of space here to store things in the cabin and also in the door card and stuff like that. So I think generally it's really good. The only thing that I'm a bit on the fence about is the fact that there's loads of plastic bits just around the car that just gives it a cheaper feel in terms of what you're paying for this car. So that's something to bear in mind. But overall though, I think they've done a really good job up front here. And then for the infotainment system, we have a 10.25-inch TFT monitor here that's driver focused, and it's also within reach, easy reach. So when the driver needs to operate things, it's very easy to do so without taking your eyes off the road. We still have some buttons here as well. So buttons for your climate control. So it's easy to also operate those. Those are the kind of stuff that you might be changing very often when you're driving. Again, so it's distraction free. There's some buttons up here as well, so home button and your ADAS system. And then we move further down, we have a wireless charging area. We have two USB-C ports, well, one USB-C port, sorry, and one full USB-A port. And then below that, we have your engine start button. You have your transmission switch, including the B mode, and drive mode is available as well. And then below that, we have more space for things like bottle holders and another space behind that to store whatever you want to underneath the armrest. But back to this infotainment system though, it's very easy to operate. You slide across, you can add widgets. You can even use ChatGPT with this as well, which is pretty cool. You got heated seat operation and so on and so forth. We go to application drawer. This is where you see everything else that's available. So you can do screen mirroring on this. So it supports Apple CarPlay, supports Android Auto wirelessly. We look at the ADAS system to see some of the safety equipment here. You have lane keep assist, you got excessive speed warning. But if you tap this here in terms of functions, then you have more options available, like things like automatic braking system, traction control, speed limit change sound, blind spot stuff, driver attention alert. You can switch things on and off as you wish to do so, whatever suits your preference, you can do that. Tap this home button up top there, takes you back to the home screen, and you can see there, just nicely done in terms of how it works. It's smooth enough. It's not the most fluid I've seen, but it's smooth enough to still be able to operate things without taking your eyes off the road. There are some hints of Stellantis here. So when you look at the driver mode button and the transmission switch, that's when you see buttons that you might have seen in your Peugeot, for example. Very similar in that sense. And then over on the instrument cluster as well, nice and big display. The steering doesn't block your view at all. It's got this nice shaped design to it as well above it, which is really nice. That's a cool finishing to have on the car. And you can change the view as well in terms of what you can see on there. You can modify it to suit your preference in the settings. But I think they've done a really good job in terms of speccing this up and designing the cabin here to make sure that it looks sporty, modern, and fun. For the trim levels that's going to be available in the UK, the Junior is going to be available in the Elettrica, Speciale, and there's also going to be the Veloce. The Elettrica and the Speciale would have 156 horsepower, while the Veloce goes up to 280 horsepower. The standard Junior Elettrica will start from £33,895. The Speciale will start from £35,000, 695, and the Veloce, which is the top spec model, will start from £42,295. There's also going to be 3 option packs available. So you have the technology, premium, and sports pack. The sport pack will offer the best in terms of the sportiness. So you get things like sat belt seats, black and red Alcantara upholstery, and sporty exterior features. So furthermore, on the power output, we're going to have the option for 156 horsepower or the 280 horsepower Veloce option. So in a 156, you'll be getting 260 Newton meters of torque and 345 when it comes to the Veloce, which is a 280, and they're both front wheel drive. For acceleration, you'll be looking at 0 to 62 miles per hour in 9 seconds in this version here. We don't know yet for the Veloce option, and the top speed in this will be 93.2 miles per hour. The Veloce will go up to 124.3 miles per hour. When it comes to the electric range on the WLTP, we have up to 255 miles, depending on which version you go for. So, how's the driving experience in the Alfa Romeo Junior? I think the first thing you notice when you get in the front is it's very comfortable, and things are within reach as well. Ease of reach is good in terms of the display if you need to operate it, and also they're nice and large and very sharp and bright as well, so you're not going to miss anything when you're driving out and about. In terms of visibility, I think it's good as well. None of the pillars are blocking my views in any way, so that's a bonus, that's a plus, I like that. And also, obviously, people that this is aimed at, any driver would love to have a good level of visibility when you're driving, especially when you're approaching junctions and all that kind of stuff. You don't want to be blocked by any of these pillars around the car. In terms of tech available, I think it's good as well in terms of all the safety options that we've gone through already. That's loads of stuff there available to you. Even a standard use, you get a really good level of equipment in the car as well. And that really matters, especially when you're spending the price point that this is at in general. So that aside though, if you really want a bit more fun, you have to then decide whether you want to go for the Veloce, which gives you more speed, more power output, and also you get some design features as well. So for example, the bucket seats and all that stuff is much better in the Veloce compared to this one. But it depends on your priority. Are you looking for something that's a bit more fun, a bit more power, or do you want the range? So you have to kind of decide which one you want to go for in that area. We did get drive mode here as well, so we can switch between, so for example, it's got the dynamic, it's got natural and advanced technology. So that DNA that we normally have in Alfa cars. So it's got the switch there to switch between those. The time that you really notice, the difference that you notice is when you switch between them, is when you go to dynamic, the power output, you get the full thing. So it becomes alive a little bit more. So in terms of toning things back or dialing things up, that's where you notice the difference. So when you put it into dynamic mode, things become a bit more dialed up and you feel it as you start driving around. One thing that's also worth mentioning is if you went for the Veloce version, you get self-locking differential, you get wider track, you also get that big 20-inch alloys as well, and also the anti-roll bar's been souped up and a bunch of stuff that's been done to the car to make sure it offers better driving experience. You got a better experience when it comes to the direct steering ratio as well, the directness of it. Because you have to drive that to notice it, because I've driven the Veloce today before I jumped in this one, and you notice the difference straight away when it comes to handling and cornering. So for example, you get less understeer when it comes to putting your foot down, coming out corners, for example, and you feel the difference. So that might be a decider as well when it comes to which one you go for between the Veloce or the Speciale or just the standard Elettrica. But for me, I think if I was to buy one, I would definitely go for the Veloce, because you get all that better improved driving experience, as well as some of the design features are much better as well in that one. So that's definitely something to consider when deciding which one to go for. But in terms of the road handling though, in this, if you stick it to dynamic mode, things become a bit more alive, the steering becomes a bit weightier, it becomes a bit more direct compared to when you have it in advanced and neutral. So, but having said that though, it's still not as direct as you'd like it to be, for me anyway. In terms of preference, I think it's not as direct as I want it to be. It feels a bit wobbly as well, like it's dancing on as you're moving around and driving and cornering. You get a bit of body roll in it as well, especially in this one. But the Veloce is when you get the best experience all-rounder in terms of cornering, body roll, just everything in the car. But not everyone wants that, and people that just want something that's practical, it's compact in terms of SUV, you're probably just okay just getting something like this, because again, you get longer range as well compared to the Veloce. So those are the kind of things you have to consider when it comes to which one you decide to go for in terms of the trim levels that's available to you. But overall though, I think really good driving experience. One thing that I have to mention as well is the road noise. We can hear the tires, just the noise from the outside. It's a bit too much for my liking, especially when this is an electric car where things are meant to be nice and quiet in the cabin. But that could be down to the fact that the tarmac here in the UK, the very coarse, it's rougher compared to maybe when you drive this in Italy or other countries out there. But that's something to bear in mind in terms of the road noise. But otherwise though, I think it's all right. It's not bad at all. I think the range could be better though, in my opinion, and the directness of the steering in this doesn't have to be so much dialed down in compared to Veloce. I think they should have just kept a bit of that in this as well for the driving experience. But that's pretty much it for just my first impressions of driving this around. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have any questions, drop them there as well. I'll do my best to answer you. Hopefully we'll get the Veloce soon. And when we get that, we'll take you on the road as well and do a review of that and sort of bring you guys back to comparing it to what this felt like in this video as well. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.